What's good, fam? Let's talk about invisible churches, right? And how these invisible churches had turned into visible churches. So with this, right, we're gonna go back a little bit, right? We're gonna go back to the time when our ancestors were enslaved, right? When they took all powers away from us, right? We're stripped of it, right? So during slavery, right, or when we was enslaved, they had what was called invisible churches, and they called it that, right? But within these invisible churches, they'll say something like, oh, we had preachers, right? Black people had preachers appointed to speak that word that wasn't like original of the white controlled churches, right? But in these invisible churches, they would very much speak different, like wisdom and knowledge to the other black folks that would some would listen, right? And some others wouldn't listen, right? Because some was indoctrinated like that, while the others were very much like they knew something was up, but they needed that like individual to make them move, to make them speak. Through these teachings, it often led through revolts, right? And they couldn't have all of these, fighting back happening, so they had to crack down on all of these things. They're like, yo, what's going on? Why is there so much revolts going on, right? And when we like got together, we usually be in groups, right? And we had to do it like secretly, so the slave masters or whatnot would not hear any of our conversations or what we was doing, right? And so they had to crack down on this, right? And so they created a code word called Noah, which means black, right? And that literally prohibited us from like gathering in like big groups or whatnot, right? And actually, like, they forced us to learn their religion, which is Catholic, right? So they didn't want us learning anything but Catholic, and if we was like caught learning about it, we would be severely punished, right? So going back to these invisible churches, right? These invisible churches were actually ascended masters. These were individuals who hold like deep wisdom, who very much taught the other like unawakened folks, or the folks who have been like programmed into the white system, or the white teachers, that they didn't want them to learn their true identity, right? And so we had ascended masters incarnate as these invisible churches. We had plenty of them, right? We had a whole bunch of ascended masters to like lead a bunch of like revolts, and also get the people to like really realize who they were, right? And these teachings, right, that they taught them often led to them remembering who they was and getting their land back, right? But they will say something like these African American churches was made, and these teachings that they were spreading was to say that, oh, and everyone in God's eyes, right, everyone is equal, right? But does that really make any sense when they literally revolted? Why would they revolt if their teachings is about like everyone being equal, right? Not only that, after like they so badly they didn't want us to like learn these teachings in ways that they would literally punish you, whip you into not learning anything other but what they say. Just think about it, right? In modern age right now, what happens when you see a whole bunch of like black individuals gather up, right? You'll usually see like a few cop cars running by, just watching, making sure y'all not doing anything, because they scared. They don't want y'all to like end up like having a secret meeting and then revolting and fighting back. Now, through these ascended masters, right, or invisible churches, they had a lot of teachings, right? We each had our own gift that we would give and spread out. Like, it's literally like, how can I say it? Like, it's passed down skills, or passed down like teachings. Or you can say hoodoo or voodoo, because that's what they always call it, and then they're gonna pronounce it, evil, and say that's not a good thing. But literally, that's what helped us be free. That's what helped us like in the Haitian Revolution War as well too. All of that has helped us to like regain a sense of freedom. But these ascended masters, right? They would teach you how to communicate with your ancestors, right? How to communicate with nature, right? How to communicate with your higher self, right? How to raise your vibration. That's why they created all these rhythmatic like hums and tunes and whatnot, because that raises your vibration up. And these ascended masters knew that, right? And so they gave those teachings and passed those teachings down along. They also teach you about dancing and clapping, making drum rhythmatic like beats and flows, because that raises the energy of the environment, and also the trees, nature all around. Nat Turner, right? He was an ascended master, in which the ancestors had communicated through him, and he had foresight. He had visions and omens, and where he knew what to do, right? That the ancestors had told him, like, no, stage this revolt, stage this rebellion, and it very much gave them a scare, right? But after that, right, they made sure that was not gonna happen ever again. They came deep with the indoctrination after that. You know what I mean? Like beating like the right ways, the right teaching into us, into our ancestors, making sure that we don't do anything else but what they say or what they teach or what they are teaching us, right? And just think about it, right? After that, 1831, right, Nat Turner, his rebellion and whatnot, we move on to the Civil War, right? And I will always credit, Rashad Jamal for this because his insight helps me, develop more insight about this, right? But he mentioned how our ancestors had set up spells, right? And that's why these individuals, the North and South, were fighting against each other because they didn't know what was going on. They was fighting over money. That's what they said. And it's like, why you need to fight over money when y'all both have it, right? Y'all have an abundance of it, right? So what need is there to fight? I mean, like, they woke up and they was ready to, like, low-key beat us out. Like, fuck us up entirely. Because after that, they said we need more black churches, right? We can't have them. We have to make them believe that, like, they're going to have their own type of independence and whatnot. And so what happened? 1863, the Emancipation Proclamation, right? But there was still the war going on. So in 1865 is when it so-called, officially ended. Ended after freeing the last of the slaves, right? But notice how immediately after the Civil War had ended, there was a Reconstruction period. That Reconstruction period was a way for them to make sure that that a situation like that doesn't happen ever again. So what had happened after, right? They made an amendment, right? The 13th Amendment, and there goes that 13th, right? But that 13th Amendment stated how the use of slavery was abolished. It was not used. You cannot, like, have no type of slave or whatnot within this country. Key word, right? Within this country. But they had outlawed it. But what does outlaw mean? To outlaw means to ban or make illegal through legislation or legal authority, right? A government or governing body literally bans a practice. Get this, right? You are an outlaw. In old traditions, right, they made it so that if you are an outlaw and a court deems you an outlaw, right, you are stripped of legal protection and rights from that court, from that system. So you are that outlaw because you are not a citizen at all in this country. You are a servant. You voluntarily allowing yourself to be make use of. They know at any moment you can fuck shit up, so you are automatically deemed an outlaw, right? And so you're not gonna have no types of protections from no types of enforcers, right? Any types of laws or whatnot, they ain't gonna give you shit. So if you try to go to court and try to battle something out, guess what? You're not winning, right? If you want help or protection from these enforcers, you're not gonna get it because you're not a citizen of this place, right? You're an outlaw. They the ones that created this system that we literally joined in. The only way for us to literally get that power back is by leaving that system. I mentioned how they added the 13th Amendment, right? There goes them using that number 13, right, to represent the power, the spell that they're putting in place, making you think that, like, oh, you have to follow, they abolished the slavery, so called, right? It's a spell put on you to make you think that you were a citizen of this place when you're not even. All those, I'm telling you, I made a video of this before saying all these laws and man-made laws put in place is just made to lower your frequency, keep you further from your own identity. I'm running out of time, but if you want me to make another, I'll definitely expand upon this, right? But with that being said, fam, keep operating high. Peace and shade.